9,600 lectures to over 9 million people in America, Canada, and Great Britain. And when he died in 1886, the New York Times wrote that he was probably better known in this country and in Great Britain than any other public speaker. A couple more people that spoke there. This is Harriet Taylor Upton. She was from Warren, and she was another Ohioan who was very pivotal in the women's suffrage movement. In 1890, she joined the National Women's Suffrage Association and worked with Susan B. Anthony. This lady's pretty famous. Her name is Louisa May Alcott, and you may recognize her as an author of children's book. Probably heard of Little Women. This is the author right here. And throughout her life, she would contribute to several publications which promoted women's rights. Now, there is some stories that she allegedly spoke at the chapel. We have not found any written documentation that she did in fact speak there. However, one of the Union Chapel trustees, Dr. Barry Euler Stiff, who was also our former county archivist, who really helped me do a lot of history research about Ansell's Cave when we were first opened the West Woods. She always told me, if you ever hear some of these legends or stories, there's usually some kernel of truth behind it. So she may have spoken at the chapel, we just don't have any written documentation about it. And then wrapping up here, Union Chapel presentation. Today the Union Chapel still stands as a tribute to sacrifices made by community members to impact those coming later. Over the years, the following groups of committed citizens have made a difference in the preservation of the Union Chapel. The Newberry Memorial Association was organized in 1919 for the purpose of preserving the history and the historic shrines of Newberry. This is Dr. Julia Green, and she is planting a wreath at the Centennial Oak in 1919. And in 1931, they, along with the Lakewood chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, erected a bronze tablet embedded in a large granite boulder in front of the chapel, which summarized the history of the chapel. Ladies' Aid group, they were dedicated to the care of the community and important structures within it. It has been said that they single-handedly took care of the Union Chapel. They were one of the last organizations to meet in the building for an extended, ongoing basis. And their founding was tied to the history and the preservation of the Union Chapel. And this lady was Beverly Ash, and she lived in the house across the street from the chapel. I knew her personally, many of us did, and she was in that Ladies' Age group, and she was just an amazing person, full of knowledge, and really dedicated a good portion of her life to the preservation and sharing the history, the rich history of this Union Chapel. But there's also a Ohio historical marker on site. It's a designated historic place for Ohio, marking the significance of the Union Chapel. And in 2012, it also made history again, being listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, with a plaque marking it as such, being placed on the building on October 3rd, 2010. And with that, I will say thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but thank you for your time.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Very nice. Cool. Questions for John?
Where's the tree planted? Whose property is that? The centennial tree?
It is on private property today, yeah. I'm not privy to that. I'm not sure of the landowner's name right now. I'm sure we have it in our records. But yeah, but you can easily say, I mean, it's a giant, 150-year-old tree, so it's, probably about, I'd say about 3 feet in diameter across. Whoa, water spillage. But yeah, that's a nice tree. Okay, well, I'll be around afterwards if anybody has any questions.
Where are the trustees and who are they? What's their
Carol Grayback, Bill Ward, and then Barry Stiff are the trustees.
What is their
I think they represent, I mean, John might be able to speak a little bit more on this, but they represent the people of, they do more of the, they'll do tours of the Union Chapel and whatnot, but.
Yeah, that was a provision put in place by, trying to remember the judge's name, Judge Ford, one of our probate judges, December 5th, 1962. So a set of 3 trustees, as John explained, to exercise the will of the people as related to Union Chapel.
And what people do they represent?
The people of Jock County, Newberry, South Newberry, so along the lines of the preservation of some of the things that John talked about.
So how do we contemplate our involvement, their involvement, the accessibility of the place?
Sure, that's a good question, and I included in the board packet an agreement that was executed by Bob McCullough in 2009. Our primary role at this point has been the maintenance and limited programming through our naturalists. We don't have a strong historical component, as John mentioned. We're mainly focused on nature and parks and recreation. However, we do have that naturalist component, but our main role has been in the maintenance of the building. So I know we painted it at least twice, if not 3 times. We patched the roof. Now fast forward to now, and our involvement with the trustees. We've engaged prospectus architects for a structural integrity assessment of the building. They, along with their consultants, Barber and Hoffman, consulting engineers, have told us that the building is definitely in need of repair. So Matt has reprioritized that to priority 1. Part of the agreement is that the trustees will assist us with grant funding and grant sources. We've gone ahead and moved ahead in that regard through our partnership with McCullough and Associates. So we're looking for money in terms of how do we maintain this chapel, perhaps restore this chapel. I would envision next steps being a master plan from the Jogga Park District Planning Department and keeping things moving along.
Yeah, I see 0 activity at the place. And if it's of that historical significance, we need to have more access than we currently have.
Yeah, that's
Especially if we're going to spend a large sum of money.
And if I'm not, isn't it, we can't get in there anytime we want, right? According to this.
It's located, if you wanted to go there and check it out, there is a driveway, there is a small parking lot for 3 to 4 cars.
But if we did activities there, you can get in there. We've got the rights of agreement to activities there.
That's correct.
Do we have keys for the building?
We do not. The trustees have the keys to the building.
So we need to get permission from them to.
That's correct. That's correct, yeah. So,
Has there been any communication with the trustees to develop some type of program tied in with the park district?
John, you do the programs there. Do you have those program numbers? It's extremely limited.
Yeah, I mean, we just in the past few years, we've done just about 4 programs there. With COVID, our numbers were lower to begin with, and then the parking there, so we've only reached about 65 people.
It seems to me that the schools all go to Century Village. The message of this Union Chapel, both abolitionist and suffrage, that we ought to have a school program the stories you just related are exactly the kind of, stuff that's topical today with people is equal rights and equal pay and all of those things. So I think you gotta, until I read this, I just thought it was some old chapel along 44 that I passed
pretty amazing place, yeah. I think the challenge with school programs is, you know, those big yellow school buses getting in, it would be impossible for them, you know, to get they might be able to pull the bus in, but they're not gonna be backing up a bus on 44, so.
Again, we have